major, whatever you need, we'll pay your bills and it's all of that. But the minute I'm saying I'm depressed,
Mhm.
I can't deal with it, I can't handle it, they're like, I don't know what to do with that. Or like I said, get over it. We don't want to address that. So that's why I wanted to come on the show and talk about it. It's like, how is it that we give all this love to the person that is physically wounded that we can see, but the person that's dealing with the emotional is still hurting.
Right.
But we don't give that same love or that same attention to that emotional wound just because it's on the inside or it's a heart and you can't see that
Mhm.
doesn't mean we don't need that support.
Mhm.
So that's what I wanted us to talk about tonight, and that's why I wanted to address it because it's like that's we need to normalize people do hurt emotionally.
Mhm. That's just now. Do you think that mental health is more taboo in the Black and Brown communities than anything else because people have stigmatized getting help?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Because what this is what I learned working with a lot of women of color, everybody that's not a Caucasian person, Anglo-Saxon, European, whatever you want to say.
Uh-huh.
Most of us have said it's a culture thing. And I did not know other cultures and ethnicities were dealing with the same thing as like black and brown people. I
Hmm.
did not know that. I have a friend that's from Guam.
Hmm.
And she said, "Yeah, Lynn, we grew up the same way you grew up. Like, you better not say anything. You don't take this outside of the family. Um, be quiet, be seen, don't be hurt." I was just like, "Oh, I had no idea." She said, "Yeah, and like when our parents disciplined us, it was like severe." And I was like, "Oh, well, we're the same person." So yeah, I do think it's taboo, but I'm finding that it is happening more often in other cultures than I thought happened. So. Yeah,
Because
because again, to answer the second part of that question, um, nobody wants to talk. Everybody is more comfortable keeping secrets. And that's the sick part about it. When you have to hide or keep secrets or cover up, you start feeling really sick. You start feeling like all these different things that come on and happen to your body, like you don't think you can make it, like all these somatic complaints that start happening. Like that's why I think it is so important to talk about it because yeah, that's what we were told. Pray about it. Don't say anything. Keep it in the house. All those things that were detrimental to us, but that's what we were told to do.
when we were coming up, they used to always say that if you go see a therapist, you were crazy. You go see a psychiatrist, you were crazy. All
Yeah.
these different things. But the more and more you hold it in, that affects you more than allowing yourself to be free, right?
Correct. That's the part I think makes you crazy. Having to hold it in, having to pretend. So I use the words that describe me or what I was going through. I pretended a lot.
Hmm.
I performed a lot. That's
Hmm.
why I performed very well when I was on stage, literally on stage, not the proverbial stage,
Hmm.
but literally I performed very well because I already knew how to pretend, I already knew how to lie, I already knew how to do all those things. But yeah, when you hold it in, that's what made me crazy. Knowing I couldn't speak about it or I was told not to speak about it
Right.
or not to mention it. Yeah, I was like, I felt like I was going insane, you know.
It's because as a child, you know that, like you were saying earlier, that we weren't allowed to take our dirty laundry out the house,
Right.
whatever was going on. Now we have a lot of adults who deal with abandonment issues.
Mhm.
So how can they address that?
So for me, because my husband deals with abandonment issues, and I talk about his story too because he and I are one and the same,
Right.
um, and he's okay with sharing me sharing his story too.
Mhm.
But he had a lot of abandonment issues from his father, and at first he did not want to identify that or even deal with it. So I would say that with almost anything, if you can pinpoint the problem or identify or acknowledge
Mhm.
these things happen, that's the first step.
Mhm.
That is the very first step, because denial will keep you sick. Not, and we already talked about secrets can keep you sick too. But if you definitely start off with like acknowledging, like, hey, you know what, I'm having abandonment issues because of
Mm-hmm.
I was neglected, my mom wasn't there, my dad wasn't there, my siblings didn't love me, whatever it is, because you can have abandonment issues from any of that, not just because
Right.
parents didn't, raise you or support you in a way that you needed. No, but definitely be able to identify like your behaviors and your actions, because a lot of people that have dealt with abandonment issues, we
Mm-hmm.
we don't like rejection, and so we like people please, or we like want to like hold on to you very tight,
Right.
literally and figuratively. Um, we are master manipulators, because then we start having you think this is the reason why you need to be with me, and I need to be with you for this reason because I make your life better, and so
Mm-hmm.
they start believing that, because you like me. Let's go back to me. Like, I can have you thinking anything as far as me being in your life, because I know what it feels like not to be loved or not to be in a place where I'm valued. So I can have you thinking anything about us being together is like the perfect thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
So those type of things, and I'm not boasting about that. That right there, that's actually dysfunctional. Um, Extremely dysfunctional. And so that's why the healing journey is so important. But just being able to see those things and identify those things and acknowledge the fact, like, hey, this is how I'm showing up in my relationships. And there may be something going on here. I may need to be looking at what makes me want to be codependent, or what makes me want to jump in relationships real fast, because they do that as well. We do that as well. So
Now, we've spoken about the effects of sexual abuse as a
mhm,
juvenile, as a child,
mhm,
and we've spoken about the effects of domestic violence when it comes down to not just the female or the male that's experiencing it, but we
mhm,
spoke about the child.
mhm.
How, as an adult going through that, can they get help because they they haven't healed? A lot of individuals haven't healed from the things
Right.
that they saw.
Right. So again, since the title is normalizing emotional healing, let's look at the fact that if someone goes through trauma of any type of abuse,
Hmm.
you know, I can speak for myself, but I'll just try to make it general. If anyone has gone through something so traumatic, or an issue where they don't feel safe and they've lost their sense of security, because that's usually what trauma does to you.
Hmm.
If you're going through that, I don't understand how we as people don't understand that there will be some type of disrupt in a person's mental. Your mental health or your mental state is not going to be the same prior to whatever happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely, if you are so young, your brain hasn't even developed. Like your frontal lobe, like that doesn't even develop until you're like 25 years old. So
Right.
if you've gone through something so early, you really didn't get a chance to understand what it's supposed to be like. And then now you've grown up with all this experience and all this whatever going on. And now you're an adult, and now you are 50 years old, and you're behaving like a 6-year old. Not that you're immature, is that those things that happened to you never got addressed. And so when people act like that, or like I did a video called putting band-aids on bullet wounds, when we start having these addictions of whatever to cover up, to cope, then that's the problem. And people are like, oh, you're just an alcoholic. Well, let's find out why this person is an alcoholic.
Hmm.
You know, let's find out why she keep using sex for, as a coping skill.
Hmm.
This stuff is not normal. These are the things people do because this is how they know to get through, push through, survive.
Hmm.
So yeah, that really needs to be looked at. Like, it's an emotional wound. And if going back to the top of when I started, if there's a wound, you're gonna want to do something about it. You're gonna want to stop the bleeding. You want to start doing all that. You want to get help. You'll go to the hospital. But the minute someone you mention an emotion, nobody wants to deal with it. And all this stuff that happens in the world mostly is because people are not right here,
Mm-hmm.
because they haven't dealt with this.
So, do you think that's the reason why individuals avoid trying to speak with other individuals who are going through an emotional situation because they haven't addressed their own?
Ooh, I'm so glad you said that because I was going to really bring that up. So let me answer it like this. We've all had jobs before. We've all interacted with people before on a routine basis or just seeing them for the first time. And what do we say? Good morning. How are you?
Mm-hmm.
Or how are you doing? Now I'm talking about both sides. Usually the person that says good morning, how are you? That person wants you to say fine.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to say I'm good because they don't want to hear about what's going on with you. If we were to be honest about this whole situation,
Mm-hmm.
the person that said good morning, how are you does not want to hear you say, oh my God, I had to file bankruptcy. I had to do this. I'm getting divorced. We're like, oh my God, this is too much. And then the receiver of good morning, how are you doesn't want to talk about it. And what do we say? Oh, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not fine. We're not good. But both parties or both people have been conditioned to be comfortable. Only tell me that you're good. And I'm only going to tell you that I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like nobody wants to talk about what's going on. So yeah, maybe the other person that doesn't talk to the person that is known to have an emotional wound that or has expressed that he or she has an emotional wound, they're like, because if I open this up or if I scratch the surface or if I dig something up, it's gonna be too much for me to handle, or I don't want to hear it because I'm going through my own stuff. So
So when a lot of times when individuals get to speaking and you address, or there's a situation where you address that the issue isn't right or they're wrong because of whatever the situation, emotional part that they're in, and they deflect the whole conversation, like to try to avoid addressing it.
that's like one of the main things people do. Deflection and projection. Those are the two things that really come out in conversations because again, no one wants to like have you don't want to be the main attraction to the emotional wound. Even though you want to talk about it, even though it is disrupting your life or affecting your life, you're like, well, this and that, and I'm gonna deflect this, and I'm this. It's not really that big of a deal, or but and that's the problem. All of this is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it needs to be so normal as like waking up for people that have good hygiene, because everybody don't have good hygiene. Waking up and brushing your teeth and taking a shower.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be just that normal, you know? And just think about the times that you did allow yourself to ask somebody, how are you? And they said, "Mm, I'm not doing well." You may have felt uncomfortable and maybe you did talk to that person, but just know when you gave them that encouragement, advice, support, or you just listened, that's exactly what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know what could have happened. You know, we need support like that. We need people to listen to us, to understand us. Because a lot of times, sometimes I don't need you to give me advice. I just need you to understand. Can you just listen to me for like 50 minutes? Because maybe I need a whole 50 minutes. And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, and just don't give me any advice. Just let me talk. And that's all I need.
Do you feel that individuals are scared to allow people to enter their world or enter that part because they're afraid it'd be thrown back in their face?
I absolutely know that to be true because again, when you have dealt with any type of trauma, any type, um, you don't trust people
Mm-hmm.
because you've been hurt. Hmm. And to me, you've been hurt the most awful way, which is that emotional. And so you don't want to trust people with your feelings or your thoughts or your emotions or any of that makes you feel vulnerable. Um, so yeah, and then some people are just mean. And if they get that type of information, they may remind you of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm being very, very careful with that because I don't want people to think that um, That's what's going to happen if you share, or if you open up and you talk to a person. It doesn't mean that's going to happen all the time. But there are some people that you got to like really pick and choose who you are going to be open and honest and vulnerable with. And vulnerable does not mean weak. And to me, when you're vulnerable, you're being the strongest you've ever been. Um, but you just got to really just figure out the person to talk to, because you don't want that thrown in your face. But still don't stop that from expressing yourself. That's why it's so good to go to a therapist. We don't know you. When
Mm-hmm.
you come to us, we don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
And good therapists like myself, and I say that because I'm a dope therapist. Like, you come in and you may be like, oh, I don't know if this gonna work. But after your first session with me, you like, when can I schedule? Because I'm coming back. Because they see there's no judgment and I'm unbiased. Like, I can't be biased. I don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're coming because you need help. You need to process feelings. You need to talk to people that to a person you haven't talked to about a situation that may have happened 20 years ago. Then now you're married, you got children, and you're acting like this with your husband, and you don't like your children. Like, all of this needs to be addressed. But if you went to your sister or your mom, you know they would judge you because they know you.
And that's the question I was going to lead into, about individual knowing you the most, or are they afraid that those are the ones who are going to judge them the most?
Usually they are, because they're like, okay, so again, I talk about myself a lot because I can use me. I'm not afraid to talk about my experiences.
Mhm.
I remember one time my mom said to me, and I don't know if I said it on the show, but if I did, pretend like you never heard it before. Um, so my mom was like, you and Kevin is my brother that's 4 years older than me. I never have to worry about you and Kevin. I was like, what? What do you mean you don't have to worry about us? Like, we're your children. I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it like that. Like, you and Kevin have it together. And I was like, oh my God, like, I messed up. I never want you to think I have it together. I can be strong in situations,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not strong all the time. I was like, Ma, you have no idea. Like, how I be breaking down or crying, or like, she was like, I didn't know. I didn't know. I just thought you had it together. And I was just like, this is awful. This is awful. You cannot think I have it together all the time. But that's how she saw me. And that's how I presented to her.
Mm-hmm.
But
So,
and that was a good relationship. But some people do, they just, I don't know. It can really go either way. It really can.
being full transparency in your life, because you have been on the show with
Hmm.
full transparency, it's like, everybody can't receive it, or even become transparent, because they don't know how, or the fear, or what could it honestly be, because
Hmm.
at some point in time your mind destroys your body, whether, what I'm saying, when you internalize things. So, um, how can we navigate going forward and be more transparent about, the way we are feeling, without disrespecting someone else in the process?
I feel like, and it may take people a while to get to this point, but when you don't care about what people say about you, think about you, may react to you, um, I think that's when you can open up the most. You're like, I don't care. This is what's going on, and this is what's happening. Okay, let me say this. When I was writing my first book,
Hmm.
the lady that helped me publish my book, because I didn't want to do that on my own, she said, Lynn, are you sure? Are you sure? And I was like, girl, yes. I've already talked to my siblings. They've already given me their blessing. I asked them, like, everything's cool. And then she says, but what about you? And I said, Adrienne, if I wasn't ready, I wouldn't want this to be published. And then after I said that, I said, let me think about it. I said, yeah, I'm ready. And when I said to her, I said, I am not writing this book to expose anybody. I'm writing it so I can heal. And she says, whoa, okay, you ready. But it took me a while to get to that point. And so I share all that because that's when I think people don't care anymore. And they just said, no, I'm tired. I'm tired of, let me use myself again. I'm tired of being promiscuous. I'm tired of trying to get high. Like I never could get high smoking weed. I never did do it right. I'm tired of trying to get high. I'm tired of drinking. I'm tired of all this. And I was like, something has got to change. And then I was able to like, all right, I need to start talking about it. So
Well, self-medication. I wanted to talk about that as well because
mhm.
instead of people speaking about their issues, a lot of time they self-medicate, which
Mhm.
is more detrimental than anything else.
Yeah.
How can we address the self-medication
Mm.
and steer individuals into getting help?
So I have quite a few people on my caseload that said they do certain things, and I won't say what it is. Um, People do things, okay,
Hmm.
and I don't judge them. And I say, well, if we're going to be honest with each other, you're doing that because that's a coping skill that you decide that worked one day. It worked one day, and it felt good. You was like, ooh, I didn't have to think about that problem, or I didn't have to think about whatever. I said you kept doing it.
Hmm.
So it's a poor coping skill. And so again, if I can help you
Mhm.
change the alternative perspective, meaning a different way of thinking, then that's my job. So if I say, well, if you're doing it, say overeating, if you're overeating and you know you're binging and you know you're gaining weight and you know all this is happening,
Hmm.
you know that's not the thing you could do. So what is something else you could do? Or what is something else that you would like to do that you've never tried before? And so I'm like, well, I don't know. Well, maybe I can try dancing. I'm just throwing things out. Maybe I can try dancing because then maybe it'll help me lose some weight, get healthy again. I'm like, okay, we'll try that.
Hmm.
You know, but it feels good when you overeat. That feels good. Like when you eat comfort food, that feels amazing. Like it does. It feels so good going in, but then later on, you're like, I feel awful. You know, so it's just the fact of not replacing, but I guess you can say replacing, but finding a skill or something else that's going to help you through what you're going through. Because,
Hmm.
yeah, in the beginning, comfort food feels wonderful. It feels amazing. I love Chick fil A. I talk about Chick fil A on every one of my lives because I love Chick fil A. But I do not eat Chick fil A every day because it's going to make me sick. I'm going to be unhealthy to eat
Right.
it every day. So what do I do? I was like, hey, you're going through this situation, you're going through that. You cannot eat Chick-fil-A today. You had it 2 days already. You will not, you will not eat it a third day. So it's like, well, what else can I do? Well, take your butt outside and walk around the neighborhood. All right, I can do that. I may not want to, but I'm exerting energy. I'm freeing my mind. I'm getting out the house. Like I'm doing something different. I'm putting myself in another place that's going to help me think more clear. So
Mhm.
Now, with the like a lot of people, they resort to, like you said earlier, drinking alcohol.
mhm.
Um, right, Kay? Drinking alcohol, Kay, and smoking weed and
It was Chick-fil-A right here.
That's
um,
Chick-fil-A. That's what I'm saying. That's Chick-fil-A.
no, I wasn't talking about Kay. You know, he's sensitive.
we
I was
we
just
get ready. We getting ready to have a real session in a few minutes. Just letting you
Mhm.
hey,
For
but
sure.
people indulge
know.
in alcohol and
Mhm,
marijuana and
mhm.
coke and all these different things
Everything, yeah.
to come back to the same spot that they were when they first started. That the problem hasn't alleviated the problem.
No.
So we're talking about how can we normalize the healing process?
Mhm,
How can we stop self-medicating
mhm,
and move forward with our
mhm.
lives?
That's right. We have to deal. No, okay, have to. No, you don't have to do anything. Because if you don't do anything, you're going to stay in the same place. So I try to remove have to. Do what's going to be beneficial for you. Again, now, if I am drinking alcohol, Because I used to drink alcohol when I was in college, and I don't even know why, because my body never could really take it. But I did it because my friends were doing it. And at that time, I was like, shoot, I'm away from my parents. I can drink and then whatever. And that's when all that stuff started coming up. And I was just like, yeah, drinking alcohol is the best. And I will always be sick. Like my body will reject it. But I was just like, but it didn't make me think about what was going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized I couldn't keep doing that. And especially when I got older. So when I got older, I was like, girl, so you gonna be an alcoholic like your daddy? You gonna be a hoe? Like you gonna keep having sex with everybody? Because it's a temporary fix. At the moment, it feels amazing. It feels great. It feels all of those things. But after the orgasm, I leave, he leaves, or I leave, she leave, whatever the night was. The problem was still there.
Right.
So that's the thing. To answer the question, the problem is still going to be there until you identify, acknowledge, admit all the words people don't like. I have a brother that is a hardcore addict. My brother is 70 years old. Okay. Yeah, my parents are really old. My brother is 70 years old. Still getting high. Still getting high. And I told him this one day because he was in the military. I said, something happened to you. I know. I know something happened to you. And you're probably afraid to say it, but I know something happened to you. And that's the reason why he's still using. Now I have my thoughts, but he won't admit to me what really happened. But he said, sis, you are right. I said, I know I am. And that's the thing. People don't want to admit sexual abuse. They don't want to admit that abandonment. They don't want to admit like whatever. They don't want to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
But I will go and drink. I will do this. I will do that. So I mean, and that's the thing. So just being able to say, I'm sad. I have anxiety. I'm depressed. I'm all that. If we can look at people or accept the fact that people are literally hurting,
Mm-hmm.
then we will be better off. Because, like I said, if I walk through the door with a broken leg, what is someone? The majority of the people in that space are gonna get up, give me my seat, give me their seat. You need some help? You need me to come up? You need me bring? It's the same thing with emotional pain. We need somebody to say, you need me to hold your hand? You need me to take you to the appointment? You need me to listen? But we don't.
You know, the sad part is we have to go outside of our comfort zone, out of our home circle to find someone who will listen.
Yeah.
And I think that's traumatic within itself, that you have to get to the point because you don't want to be, like you said in the beginning, you don't want to be judged. But then the feeling of love, where's the love that person needs to normalize healing? Where's that at?
Mm-hmm.
You find it where you need to find it. Family doesn't have to be relative. We all know that.
Yeah.
All three of us know that. You don't have to be a blood relative to be family. You do not. And most of my people that are family are not blood related. They're just not. And I'm okay with that because I've created my own family.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think about like when people get ready to go through the holidays too, you get ready to be around blood relatives
Mm-hmm.
that probably know about a trauma, an issue, or was the person that did it. And some people may know too, oh, that's your whatever. You gotta love your mom because people just because just because you're related to somebody doesn't mean you have to stay in that relationship. And
Right.
mothers can be toxic. Anybody can be toxic. Like, you gotta love you gotta love her. That's your mom. It's like, I will not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna do that. And I'm not gonna put myself in this position just to have Thanksgiving dinner just to please mom or grandma. I'm not doing that. And you don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can set boundaries and say, like, if you decide, okay, I'm gonna go. But if they ask me this, or if I start feeling like this, I'm going to set a boundary and say, you know what? I don't have to stay. I can get up and I can leave. I do not have to tolerate the um, interrogation, or I don't have to tolerate feeling uncomfortable, or just being in a room, just seeing a person and I feel anxious. Like, I can leave. I can definitely do that.
Now, to be around the individual who caused the trauma and
Mm-hmm.
it was never addressed, how can you normalize that healing process if it's never been addressed? Or everybody wants to sweep it under the rug like it didn't happen?
It ain't about them. It's about you. And that sounds very harsh. That sounds very harsh that I said that. And I don't apologize. I want those that catch the live or catch the replay is to understand your healing is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You did not cause the pain, but if you wanted to stop,
Mm-hmm.
it's your responsibility. It's yours. And so it's just like, I'm not getting ready to continue to be in this space and not receive an apology or someone to admit they did this in order for me to heal. Like, no, kick rocks, go ahead and go, because this is about me and I need to go on with my life. Same thing, going back to me again. Had I not forgiven my parents, I would not be married and I wouldn't have children, because that is what was stopping me from going on to my healing journey. I was just like, it's valid. I'm validated. No, they shouldn't have done me like that. You were supposed to protect me. I'm not getting ready to be whatever. Like, I was angry, angry, angry all the time. But I knew, I was like, if you continue to be angry, you're gonna be by yourself. You're gonna be a bitter woman all
You
by
know,
yourself. And so I was just like, I don't care that I don't get an apology. I don't care that you don't admit that you did what you did. We both know what you did. And so in order for me to heal, I got to go on and do it for myself. So that's what I mean. Like, again, I understand it's very sensitive. It's difficult. It's hard. It's uncomfortable. But if you want healing, you do it for yourself. You don't do it for nobody else.
you know, one of the things that people feel reluctant to come forward sometimes when they are the problems themselves, but have caused so much emotional pain for others.
Mm-hmm.
And when the people who are affected by that try to reach out to that individual, and yet that individual, knowing that he or she is the root and cause of the problem, doesn't want to talk to anybody. So the again, like you said, the self-healing then turns back into the person who is affected versus the person who affected them.
Correct.
So, you know, for everybody out here who's listening, the first thing you need to do is say to yourself, believe in yourself, trust in yourself to say, you know, I will come out okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you can't reach out as much as you have tried to, and it hurts a lot of people because we all are victims of trying to reach out from hurt, but never being able to be heard.
Yeah.
So we have to rely on self to do the best part. So everybody that's listening under the sound of our voices, I want you to take heed to this. This is very serious when it comes to our internal health.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, that affects us physically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have to be careful what words come out of our mouths.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be careful what words we take into our ear. You know, and so just take the time to sit and meditate within yourself first. And if you have to go outside of your home, if your home circumference ain't that good, you may have to, like Josh said, you know, and it's sad that we may have to even step out that way because we're already being prejudged for
Yeah.
what they already know instead of listening to the full Monty and getting a better understanding. So sometimes we have to go out there and
Mhm.
seek it from someplace else. And
Mhm.
then the best part of it is it ain't the change that they may have, it's the change that we choose to make for ourselves that is the
Right.
first part of self-healing.
Mhm.
Right.
Now, sis, I have a question.
Mhm.
When you have siblings, you know what I'm saying, from one parent, you don't share the same, you know what I'm saying, two parent household with your siblings. Um, and you go through certain things and you hear stories of the relationship that one parent had with the other sibling, and you're always trying to figure out why we didn't have the same relationship. How was that healing process?
Difficult. It is difficult. I would say that because that happened in my family. Like my mom had two husbands. So the first set of children were by her first husband, and then the rest of us were with my dad.
Mhm.
So it was quite difficult because they saw, like, this is before I was born, of course, but they saw that. It was like, well, why isn't that, you got mama over here and we got to stay with daddy over here, because their dad was crazy. Like my dad was crazy, but he was crazy too. Um, and so they grew up with dad over there, um, and they were kind of like jealous of my siblings that were born at the time because they had mama. We want to be with mama. We don't want to be up here with this man, and y'all getting this type of treatment, and we over here, and he's not treating us well, and y'all got the nurturing mom. Even though my mom went through all that mess she did with my dad, she was still very nurturing to us. And
Mhm.
you have all that over there, and we don't have it, so it's very difficult because then there's like true sibling rivalry for reasons not because of the children but because of like what's happening.
Mhm.
And so there's a conversation to be had. Like those are conversations that it's best not to avoid because again, the children didn't put themselves in that situation. The adults made the decision to either separate, divorce, move on, whatever. And so when you have two families, let's just say like that, when you have two families like that, it's best to talk to the children to see how they are affected. And when the parents don't want to do it, because back in the day, the parents don't want to talk. So that's when the it's best for the siblings to say, hey, how's it over there with your dad? We got mom, and this is how it is over here with us. And just having that conversation is better than just like, oh, you had it better than me, because that's kind of like what they thought, and until they started having the conversation with each other. So
I know personally, like I have siblings. You know, my father had a bunch of children, and he only had me and my brother with my mom. So it was more of when things would happen, they would always say, "Well, you know, what I mean, you was around him," not realizing just because we're in the same geographical location
mhm,
doesn't mean that he was in my household. You know, so a lot of times that had to be addressed because just because he was in New York don't mean he was with us. You understand? And I
mhm,
think a lot of
mhm.
times my siblings
Yeah,
always felt like I had more access to them when I had the same access they did, and they wasn't even in the state.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I know we had to come together and have that type of conversation with my own siblings about the relationship that I didn't have as well as they didn't have
yeah.
on certain aspects. But um, I know during holiday seasons,
Mhm.
you said that individuals are going to come together with their blood relatives, a lot of blood relatives, and there's going to be some relatives that are not going to be at that table, and it's going to be individuals that is going
Oh,
to
I'm
be
breaking up.
missed. Hmm? There's going to be individuals that are going to be missed during this period in time.
Hold on, I'm breaking up.
Okay. Um,
Okay.
it's going to be individuals that will be missed at the table and
Mhm.
from grieving. And a lot of times we never get over grieving because there's no expiration date with grieving. But how
Right.
do you get to where you can normalize and live, you know, on without always crying?
I don't think we can.
Oh, I don't even know how to answer that. My sister has been dead for 10 years. Oh, now I might cry. So now she's been dead for 10 years, and I think about it every day.
Right.
Every day. And it's just hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just hard
Yeah.
to
I
not
think.
have your person. Because like when she died, I was like, my person. Like she was my person. Like she was my best friend. And then
Mm-hmm.
of course, I have my husband now. He's my person.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I was messed up. Like I was like tore up. My person was in it. Like when they put her in the ground, I mean, when they cremated her, I was just like, this is some bullshit. Cause I'm never gonna see her again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never. And people think I'm crazy. I still have her phone number in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way that I want to grieve. Like I don't tell people, oh, it's been 5 years. Like you should be over that, and like, no. Do I cry every day? No. Sometimes I get really emotional talking about it. Like I just got emotional,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't cry, and it wasn't because I didn't allow myself to cry. I thought I was gonna cry, but then it was like, oh, I'm not gonna cry. Um, but it's moments like that too. I may be good. And then a song comes on because we used to do karaoke together. And the song comes on. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, lose it.
Uh-huh.
And that's so normal. That is so normal. It is also very normal for people that don't cry and keep themselves very busy.
Mm-hmm.
However, you choose to grieve. That's how you choose to grieve. It is also normal for people that want to look at pictures every day of their loved ones that is no longer here. If that's what you choose to do, then do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So yeah, it's hard when the holidays come because she was a big holiday person. Um, but yeah, I just honor her every time I think about it every day because she
Mm-hmm.
was such a great person. And so that's why I would say I would just like honor the person that you are still grieving. And it's okay. And however you choose to do that, then that's what you do.
I have to add to that because 2 years ago, I lost one of my older brothers. You know, and it seems like it's just an empty void. And to take that even further, my old man returned to the essence back in '89, and as old as I have become, it's yet still fresh as if it happened when it happened to me. So, and I know it affects everyone else in the family in their own different ways. Me and my sister, we talk whenever certain times will come around. So she's my rock, I'm her rock. You know what I'm saying? And people will never understand. So it's been so long since your dad, you should be over that. When do you get over losing somebody? When do you get over? You
Yeah.
know, uh, Ja lost his moms. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He has his ways when he's feeling what he's feeling.
Mhm.
And if you know him or you are a friend and brother to him, you know when those moments are because the way how he is. You know when he's out of the pocket and you know something's there. And it's vice versa with me. So,
Definitely.
and sometimes we don't even have to say a word, but we know. We know.
Yeah.
And all we it is, yo, it's gonna be all right. I'm there when you need me, if you
Mm-hmm.
need me. However, and see, this is the thing that
Yeah.
we all should take heed to within our family as well as our friends, mostly
Mhm.
within our friends, because sometimes friends will do it a lot better than our own internal family. So we have to recognize that too, you know. So
Yeah.
again, the emotional healing is very important in one's life,
Mhm.
you know, because it can lead anyone down in a slippery slope. I myself took to alcohol when my father was killed. I took to sex when my father was killed. I didn't care about myself enough. So if I didn't care enough about myself, I didn't give a damn about nobody else. Whatever I was doing, when I was doing it, with who I
Right.
was doing.
Right.
They They saw a whole total different person, but me was the person inside of me I couldn't stand. But that person had more control of me mentally
Yes.
than anything
Yep.
until it took me and then in the works of others. I cannot say I did it all by myself because
Mhm.
I had helping hands along the way that, especially my mother. She was like, no matter what, son, I'm going to pray for you and boom, 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 boom. But my mother was my mom and
Mhm.
never judgmental. She loves each and every one of us the way she do. There's no favorites, no picks, or nothing. We are all one under the sun, under my mom's
She
eye.
she loves me more.
Yeah, whatever.
Yes, Lord.
So for it's all about the internal structure of what we do.
Yeah.
And it's always good to have somebody that you can talk to without judgmental, you
Mhm.
know. And that I think that's all part of the process. And I think it's great that we have this show and platform to express these things, especially amongst the black and brown families,
Exactly.
because of a lot of roots that we came under traditionally that had a strong psychological effect generation to
Yeah,
generation to generation. You know?
that's right. And
You
that's
know,
yeah.
you know, it's difficult at times for me because I still go through not just my mom passing, childhood issues, what have you. Um, Loyalty to me means everything because I deal with, um, thank you, I appreciate it. I have abandonment
Mhm.
issues, and the reality of it is there's certain things that if you go at K, you gotta come at me. He ain't even got to respond. That type of situation, and he have to talk me off the roof, and it's be his issue, you know, because of the genuine love and loyalty I have. And I think that comes from being abandoned, being alone, losing my brother, losing my mom, losing my other siblings. It's
Mhm.
always been that. So a lot of times I need somebody to talk to. I holler at K or and something like that because sometimes you feel like people don't understand.
Mhm.
You don't feel like people understand what you what your journey is
And to
because
me, I think that's the main thing when you think people don't understand, but we don't give them a chance to understand, or you don't open up to understand. So I don't know. Y'all remember when Robin Williams killed himself, the comedian?
Mhm.
That tore me up. Not because he was a celebrity that I truly adored, because I really did. But I was just like, people need to understand that depression is real.
Yeah.
Like, we pretend to be okay.
Mhm.
That's the act. Not being depressed or not, experiencing. That's not the act. It's when we walk around and like, oh, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. That's the problem. Because I still think about like suicide is so final.
Right.
It's such a permanent act to temporary issues and concern. And you may have been going through things for years. I don't know what he went through. It could have been years. But in his mind, that was the only thing that he could do to rid himself of whatever he was feeling.
Mm.
And that's the reason why it is so important to normalize it. We have all these health issues. I remember I used to keep getting migraines because I had so much junk emotions and energy in my body. I had back pain. Like I had so many somatic complaints because I wasn't healing. I couldn't have children because my womb was still wounded. And so, yeah.
I tell you, it's funny. Lynn became our sister long before she even started on the show.
Yeah.
It's funny, the connection was instantaneously happening. And we have some beautiful nieces and nephews from my sister, and we're so proud of them.
Yeah.
And we always, like I know I get on sis nerves because I'll send her a text and just be picking at her. I get on her nerves. I know she be wanting to tell me to shut up in the text, but she knows it's genuine. If I see something, I'm going to say something. I see her on any other platform, we right there with her,
Mm-hmm.
because as much as she has helped y'all, which is our audience, she has helped us.
Mhm.
And we hope that giving her this platform have helped you in the process of healing as well.
Yeah.
Because like me and Kay always say how much we love you. You know what I'm saying? How much we love the family.
Yeah.
And you're the only person that can come on whenever you get ready.
And I want to thank you so much because you really taught me how not to answer the phone when he calls. Nah, I'll just play.
Well, you
Boundaries.
Nah. It's all true. Everything he's saying, man, is straight from the heart because
Thank you.
you are a true blessing amongst us, and I know that you are a blessing amongst those who have you reached out to you for help in any certain way, shape, and can, and you still doing it. And every day, like we say, I'm grateful for you and your whole family. We are grateful
right.
for the whole family overall because y'all are dynamic, and it is what it is. So
But I have to say, only time that I ever feel rejected by a sister is certain, you know, shows like the ones that are coming up next week. Um, because whether people know it or not, you know, uh, I'm not like publicly. I can't have certain conversations and feel comfortable. I haven't got to that point, but I will have those conversations because of the show. But of course, our sister's like, "Yo, you'll get over it. You'll get over it. Get on out there."
Mhm.
And I ask her all the time to come on the show when we have those type of situations, because not because of my fear, because I know that if she's there, she can help ease the process for me. You know what I mean? Because I'm not used to having those type of conversations publicly. You know, but she's
just
not.
You're
scared.
uncomfortable.
Now I'm not scared. It's just, I, well, I'm scared.
He's uncomfortable. And that's the thing, even with our conversation today and those that you will have, it's the uncomfortable conversations that make us better,
Right.
you know.
And that's the thing that I've learned since you started coming on about the uncomfortable conversation. Those are the conversations that need to be had. Those
Hmm.
are the conversations that put you on a journey to healing.
Yeah.
Those are the conversations that we need to face head on.
Hmm.
I hate to say need, because, like you said, have to, because it feels like forcing somebody to do something they
Yeah.
don't want to. But eventually, you will get to the point in your life that you will address certain situations. Uh,
Right.
all our insecurities, all our baggage, all our trauma, because we have to address them eventually. And I know we coming up on the hour, sis. I appreciate you. I know
Absolutely.
you'll be back. I know my sister will be back.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, and while we here, when it's party time, ladies and gentlemen, when it's party time and you see us on here, we're drinking water and apple juice. Okay,
Exactly.
we're drinking water and apple juice. There's no
Exactly.
there's no alcoholic beverages that we can share with you online.
And I
Well,
say, mind your business.
let's be honest. When you say when we on here for party time, because the only people that be lasting is me and sis. Somebody be bowing out, but I ain't gonna say no names. But somebody don't be hanging like they try to hang. I'm just, I,
I,
you know,
I, I,
mm.
I'm getting old and tired. Getting
You need
old
some
and
rest.
tired.
Get you some rest.
I need
Yeah,
I need a nap.
Be the first one to talk about I'm in a powder mood.
Exactly. It's
And
like
be the first one to go night.
First one.
But see, the whole thing about it, I think I drink a little hard and fast, and I need to pace myself with it.
Yeah, slow it down.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because
water and Gatorade,
a whole bottle of Gatorade, Heineken, will definitely put you on your back.
Yeah. But I do want to thank you for wanting to have this conversation, though. I really do, because it's so necessary and it's very important for us to have it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad when we talked about it, we came up with different ideas and topics. It was like, yes. So thank you again for that.
Thank you.
I tell you, sis, it's brainstorming, and I want to say thank you for one process, because you help Real to Real 360 become who we are today, because of the uncomfortable conversations, because of the topics, because of the things that we need to address. You helped us get over the hump. So that's why we always say, you know what I mean, there's 4 of us, even though there's 3 Yoshi, we got to definitely, you know what I mean, but there's 4 of us, because without you, you know what I'm saying, a lot of things would go to the wayside, because you keep us on our toes, you give us ideas and things that we need to address. And sometimes we need to acknowledge where we are and why we're in the place that we are in.
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean? The conversation that we had, and we got another show coming up, I think, soon. But I know it's going to be in January, the way our schedule coming. But we got another show coming up soon, and we're going to address more issues. But I want to say, make sure, like, because I'm getting sentimental, make sure that y'all go and y'all buy my niece's pickles. Y'all make sure y'all get them pickles.
H&L Pickles Perfected.
H&L Pickles Perfected. That's right.
You make sure you get them, and you contact our sister Lynn so y'all can get those pickles. I'm telling you, it's holiday time. Put the chitlins down and grab them infused.
Grab the pickles.
Lynn, let them know how they can reach the pickles. Let them know.
So on Instagram, it's Pickles Perfected, and I manage the site. So definitely you can put look at the flavors, the price list, the orders, and we ship out to you. And on Facebook is H&L Pickles Perfected, because it's Haley and Leah. So
right. And if you type in Real to Real 360, you're going to get a 0% discount going forward. That's the code word. Real to Real 360.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much.
But ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of the show, and we'd like to thank all of our followers and our listeners, those who are subscribing to the YouTube, those who are subscribing to the Instagram and the Facebook, but also to the Real to Real website is up now. It's Real to Real 360 at .org. .org. Yep, Real to Real 360.org, where you'll be able to see or get all our merchandise, get all the shows, and be able to book a show if you want to do that as well. So want to say thank you all for all the love and support that y'all been giving us for the last 2 years. And we going in strong. And also too, you make sure that you tap in with our sisters to make sure that you get the mental health that you need. Every Sunday, you're going to have DJ KYs doing Slow Jam Sundays on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter. So for all your slow jam needs, when you want to go half on a baby, just wait for Sunday. Make sure she don't ovulate to Sunday.
Boy, you stupid.
Because
well, let me make that. It ain't just Sunday slow jams. We gonna mix it up. We gonna mix it up because some people like to ovulate in the fast joints too.
Thank you.
Some people want to get grooved on this.
If you think you found your love on a two-way highway and you lost it on a lonely back street, there's gonna be a lot of brown liquor music on Sunday. You're going to church to praise the Lord, and you're going to hell on TikTok. I'm telling you right now.
what we doing at this show, we let it be known. We want to showcase all genres really, but we pinpoint Southern Soul because there's a lot of Southern Soul is on the rise, and it's really making real headway. So we're showcasing a lot of Southern Soul artist songs, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal, and we're hoping that it helps launch Southern Soul to be one of the greatest genres of music ever, and we're doing our part. So if you're a Southern Soul artist, if you're an R&B artist or whatever, you want to showcase your music right here on the Real to Real 360 show, get at us and we'll get right back to you, guaranteed. And if you want to be a part of the show, just like Joshua said, hit us up on our email, realtoreal360@gmail.com, REAL, the number 2, REEL 360@gmail.com. We would love to have you. We love to interview you. Let us know where you're touring at, where your show's at. And if we can be a part to help anyway and assist, we'll be there. All right. That's what we about.
Definitely. Now remember, make sure she ovulate on Sunday from 6 to 9. That's it. From 6 to 9. After 9, you're on your own.
Peace, cuz. Radim, what's good, cousin? What's going on, fam?
What's going on? But no, seriously, all jokes aside, Sunday is going to be his heavy day because he's going to be rocking out for everybody up until midnight, I think. From 6 to midnight, 5 to midnight, something. Well, he'll work out the numbers. During the week, there's a after the show party on Twitter and TikTok and Twitch. So when the show is over, go right to the Real to Real 360 page on Twitter and on TikTok, and you will see how he gives it up. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you. Thank you to my sister for coming on. Okay, you know what time it is, my brother. Love you, man. Love you, sis. And Yoshi Mod in the building.
Yes, I can't forget our Yoshi Mod. Yo, that's the 1-4 for the Real to Real right there. We're now complete. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Peace to Allah's mighty 5% nation, the gods and earth, to all the human families on the planet Earth. We give you a love, peace, and happiness high salute. And we will see you when we see you next time, all right? In the name of Allah, peace.
Peace.